All right, so for those of you who thought the most recent video was a little abrupt, that's because I didn't anticipate having clients walk through the door. So as you can hear, I'm going to speak a little louder because Noah's working on his piece. So I'm going to go over and show you what he's doing with the rotary engraver right now. So on one of the axes. So again, he's using the Dremel 9100 with a flex shaft. And so what he was doing is removing a lot of the metal to create a contrast form, to create a pocket in that piece. That's the colonial axe. So it's hand engraved, the snake's face and the eagle's face on either side. So he's going in and cutting in and removing material to create the depth. So that after we do heat treat and fill, it's got a nice contrasting engraving on it. So bright shiny metal on top, dark metal dropped in. Pretty standard stuff. Okay, so in the last video, that was just a little while ago, I had started cutting into jimping, the file work on this blade. Alright, so I used the cutoff wheel to cut my notches, and then I used a tapered burr to cut in the hemispheres, right? To make the little, we call them hog's teeth. So, little simple jimping pattern. Now, like I said before, I'd use the laser engraver to drop in the initials for the outline. Now I'm going to come in and start cutting a chamfer around the letters so that they're a little bit elevated, so that when after heat treat and everything, we can go in and selectively polish, or well, in this case, we're going to use a diamond bit to create a diamond polish texture on the letters. And so after the acid etch, the body metal will be one consistency, one color, one tone, and then the initials will stand out a second tone. All right. So for this, I'm using a small tapered burr that we've actually, so when these burrs come in, they've got a fine point. We actually take them and grind that fine tip off and give them a flat head. So it makes a really nice, small, pitched contour cut. You know, I've had a lot of other makers and a lot of crafters and just hobbyists ask me how we do this. And, you know, I've shown a few people. It's not something you jump right into and get really good at. You know, I've been doing this for years, and I'm nowhere near the best. I consider myself competent. People seem to like our work. And so this is how I do it. There are several different ways of doing it. Again, it's soft metal. It's not hardened metal yet. You know, I don't have any of my hand chisels, my hand chasing chisels here. They're over at another station. We will do that for certain pieces, for certain aesthetics and looks. It's a very laborious process to do it, to hand chase it. I do have an air graver. I'm currently saving up to upgrade my air graver. I bought not a cheap air graver, but not the highest quality air graver on the market. So it's okay for really soft non-ferrous metals, but it doesn't quite do what I need it to do. There are air gravers on the market that will work in harder metals, even, you know, annealed harder metals really well. And so gotta save up and get one of those so I can start doing that, because you can pull off different effects, different features and techniques utilizing a variety of engraving tools. So being able to combine the air graver with a rotary engraver, you can really create some really unique, really gorgeous embellishments on metal. Doing just rotary engraver, we can do a lot of cool stuff, but there are just certain effects that we can't adequately pull off without the air graver. I'm personally definitely in awe of people that do air graving and hand chasing. It's one of my favorite things to watch, to jump down the rabbit hole on YouTube. and watch different people do hand chasing and pneumatic engraving. It's one of my favorite things. There's not a lot of rotary engraving videos, but there are some really great rotary engravers out there. Hank Robinson from Hand Row Engraving, he does trucks and motorcycles and wheels and air covers. He does really awesome relief engraving on automotive surfaces, Yetis. So he's a really cool person. You should go check him out. That's Hank Robinson at Hand Row Engraving. You can find a lot of rotary engravers online. It's a very cost-efficient way of getting into engraving. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah, the Dremel 9100s, they're, a few $100. You don't really need that if you're wanting to like do some relief engraving on like Yeti cups or, different surfaces. Shannon, on his water bottle, he hand engraved, relief engraved an octopus. He's weird, but it's cool. So again, rotary engraving, you can spend a lot and have some really nice stuff. You can spend a little bit and have stuff that'll work and do well. We started off with the smaller Dremel units and the over-the-counter bits, and then as we progressed, we got higher speed, higher torque units and started buying more specialized specialty bits, the tungsten carbide bits, the high-speed steel bits, all for different applications and different uses. Most commonly what we use is the tungsten carbide, and we use a variety of different shapes, sizes of these bits. So I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to show you. So on this one, like I said, I'm going to use a small tapered bit, right? And I'm going to be, let's move you a little closer. All right. I have to figure something else out. Please be patient. Technical difficulties. All right. So that is not going to work. All right. You can see over here I've got a little hodgepodge of different bits. Okay. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting these outlines to a chamfer, so an off-angled bevel, so that when we go in and do the selective sanding on the letters, they pop out with more contrast. So I always cut the bevel away from any hardline outliner. So if you'll notice, as I'm working, I'm pulling the tip, the working tip, towards me. That's because the angle of rotation, the direction of rotation, if I go to push, it will still work, but it will try to run away. So if you slowly bring it back toward yourself, it cuts more consistently, it's easier to control, and you have less chance of it running away. So right here is the key reason for the really narrow taper, because there's not a lot of wiggle room to cut that chamfering in between those lines. So that's something else important to consider when you're picking lettering or font or design, is how tight of a pattern or how close are the lines, how are you going to cut them in. You know, they do make smaller, really tipped, really fine detail burrs. The issue with those really small burrs is, one, you have to go slow, and two, they wear out or break really easy. All right, so looking at 1095 high carbon steel that's been annealed. We use the Dremel 9100 rotary flex shaft engraver, the Fordham handpiece, and an easy lock cutoff wheel to cut the drop-in lines on the jimping. We used a tungsten carbide tapered burr, a large tungsten carbide tapered burr to cut in the hemispheres on the file work. We used a small tapered tungsten carbide burr to cut in our lines around our letters and cut in the chamfers. Now that my hard lines are set, I'm going to take out this narrow tapered bit. All right. And I'm going to put in a more egg-shaped bit and clean up those chamfers, try to get them as consistent and even as possible. So the reason why I'm switching to this bit is I don't have to get the tip right up on the line work of what we're doing. Actually, I'm going to avoid getting the tip very close to that. What I'm trying to do is bring back the chamfer. So when I was using this bit, it created a chamfer similar to this. So this is the drop-in from the artwork, and the chamfer comes out like this. So I'm going to use the egg bit to kind of bring the chamfer more like this to create a little bit more of a smooth, subtle transition from the artwork, which is the letters themselves, to the body work where the chamfer blends into it. I don't want an abrupt, hard cut. I kind of want it to be softer and smoother, and so that's why I'm switching to this bit. Hey, we're just going to keep you up there. All right. I'm going to bring the full box. Oh, right there. All right. No? A little bit better? Okay. So like I said, I switched from the really narrow, drastic tapered bit to a more egg shape. So this is what we cut the line work in with. This is what I'm going to clean up the chamfer with. Okay. So we softened out the radius. So now the letters stand up a little bit. So I'm going to take you over to go watch Noah real quick. I'm going to prep this just to show you, just to give you a quick look of what it looks like beyond this point, beyond bare metal. So I'm going to take you over. You're going to watch Noah work for a minute, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back. So what I just did was I took the piece and I went and hit it with some high heat black enamel and just hit it with a couple coats. Took the propane torch to it real quick just to harden it up a little bit, and then just sanded off the top layer real quick just to show the contrast and elevation of the initials. All right. So that is our basic, outlined hand engraved letters. Obviously, we can cut the letters in. We can do profiling around them. We can do a less contrasted version. You know, there's really a whole lot. You do have a lot of options with rotary engraver with what you can do, but it comes down to your ability and tool manipulation. Think of it like calligraphy pins. You know, practice with them. You can get the bit to start doing different things just by changing the angle of your grip, changing the angle of the piece, changing the direction that you're pulling. You know, and there's a variety of bits on the market that do different things, but they're great, from cylinder bits to bell bits to inverted cones to cones. There's just a lot of options, a lot of really cool things you can do with rotary engraving. So, you know, the jimping, the file work on top of a knife, and the initials, you can even do, maker's marks. Now granted, that maker's mark is done in depth with our laser, super sharp, super crisp, super clean, but having the ability to know, because we used to originally do that by hand. We used to cut our logo in by hand, and it's cool and it's awesome, but it's a little different. So that's the initial engraving on a larger knife with jimping. Now this customer is also getting one of our smaller neck knives, and if you'll notice, again, the initials, they're way smaller this time, right? So I have to use a very small burr, and it's going to take a really long time to do the same effect with the larger, larger letters. So you can see how close some of those lines get to each other. There we go. Right? So, but this one's also, because they're so small, it's only going to get a slight chamfer, smaller chamfer, so, but there's a higher degree of difficulty, and it's also going to require magnification while working. You can get set up to do this fairly cheaply. They make little kits that you can go pick up at Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware. Anywhere where you can buy tools, they'll typically have Dremel kits and Dremel bits. I do suggest always doing the flex shaft. Even the smaller versions of Dremels, they have flex shafts. Hold on one second. So, you can buy a Dremel like this, right? And it hangs up, and it's a hand, typically you see a lot of people doing this by hand. That's a lot of weight, and it'll wear your wrist out. They make flex shaft attachments for these. They're really great. They're worth it. You should do it. You can get different types of hand pieces, from the larger. So I like the 1-inch round. I really do. If you were coming to look around the shop, you'll see that some of the guys have like athletic tape taped around there. It's making it bigger so they're not pinching as much. I will switch to the really small portable hand piece when I'm doing super tight, tiny details like this knife. So I am going to switch to this hand piece just because it affords me that little bit of extra control. Now, I am going to suffer a little bit more hand fatigue from keeping control of such a smaller piece. But at the same time, it's a trade-off. Really small, tight, crisp details, I'll use the smaller piece. General work, I'll use the larger hand piece. But yeah, so, other than the engraving work that we do, handle work, carving into the wood handles of the axes, wood handles of knives, we use the rotary engravers for. It's a lot of fun. It's easy to make a mistake because the bits can chew out more or can cause chipping, but it's also a cheaper material to replace. So a lot of people have asked me, he's off in his own world, he's in his little process. So a lot of people ask me, like, how hard is it to get into this? It's really not that hard. You can go spend a couple $100. Actually, you can probably do it for about $100. Go pick up a Dremel and a hand attachment and some bits and grab stuff around the house, grab stuff out of the garage. I've seen guys engrave their motorcycle tanks, their air covers themselves. There's a lot of videos on YouTube of different makers and different craftsmen who utilize rotary engravers for all kinds of different tasks and purpose. And it's good to see the different skill sets and the different applications of the tools and materials. Softer materials are always more forgiving. They wear down your equipment less. Harder metals obviously wear down your equipment at a much greater rate. But you can pick up, plates of mild steel from Lowe's, Home Depot, hardware stores. I got to stop dropping name brands apparently. You can go to your hardware store and pick up scraps of steel, like plates of steel. I would much rather suggest you go just find scrap steel. Everybody's got that somebody, that one friend or that one family member that's I was about to say hoarder, that acquires and maintains a large variety of materials and equipment at their homes or property. Glass is fun. Getting a diamond bit, like a small diamond ball bit, and engraving champagne glasses or cheap glasses with different logos. A lot of people ask, what about putting the artwork on or getting the artwork? You can create your own artwork using a Sharpie. You can get shipping label, like printable shipping label material, and print on it and then cut it out and stick it to whatever surface and just cut through, engrave through. And it's not a prohibitive craft up front. Really, it's your imagination and practice. Materials aren't that expensive. We order our bits through Amazon, and a typical bit setup for each engraving station runs about $35. But all those bits last us months. I actually can't remember the last time we ordered bits, and there's been 3 people in the shop working on a regular basis engraving. There are things you can do to increase the longevity of your bits. We'll go into that in a later video. You can modify bits. So I think the next video that we'll do, if people thumbs up or ask for it, the next video that we'll do is modifying bits and increasing longevity of bits. But if you guys want to see something that we may know how to do, or that we do, if you guys want to see more in detail about how we do it, drop a comment, let us know. We want to start doing more of these videos, especially live. They're a bit more honest. We're going to be doing canister Damascus here pretty soon. It's going to be my first canister Damascus. If you'd like to see the canister Damascus video, say something, and we'll live stream my first attempt at making canister Damascus. I've never done it before. Other than watching YouTube videos and speaking with other smiths, I've never been taught how to do it right. But I have watched a lot of videos, so that makes me an expert, right? Leatherwork, if there's something that we do that you would like to see how we do it. Now, I might be doing something wrong. I might be doing something. There might be a better way to go about doing what I'm doing. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh no, this is the way I do it and I'm not ever going to change. If you have a better way of doing something that we do, or you see a video or something we do and legitimately can help us have better knowledge, more efficient knowledge, please share it. I've been doing this 5 years. I'm a virtual novice in the industry. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm chasing down knowledge all the time. I pick the brains of other smiths and craftsmen, leather workers. I've got a custom leather worker whose shop is next door to mine. I pick his brain all the time, get critiques, try to improve my craft. Chris Farrell from Fairgull Forge, he's in my shop on a regular basis. He and I have 2 completely different styles, but we've both been teaching each other, different things that we know or that we're more proficient at than the other. I'm teaching Chris how to engrave, so I'm all about sharing knowledge, because quite honestly, it's the only way that this really perpetuates. Yes, I do teach classes. Yes, I do charge for the time for the classes, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to share my knowledge with somebody. There's a difference between me showing you a skill and me telling you about a skill. Like one-on-one, me walking you through it step by step versus you watching a video of me doing it. But if you want to see those videos, again, comment below, give me some feedback. And yeah, this video got a little long, 42 minutes and 30 seconds. So I'm going to let you go there and have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you soon.